of a time here saying how to do the Hajj and find out what are the importance and all this way. Okay. So to start the journey on the knowledge, we invite the Yunus and the Sheikh Abdullah for the third session on this topic. So let us reflect on the profound values behind the rituals and how we can apply those lessons in our everyday lives.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله نعمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Today we will talk about one of the important pillars of Islam, Hajj, and how are we going to do and how are we going to perform Hajj based on what Allah and Rasul says. So before we start with that, we need to understand the rules and regulations of the Hajj, because the rules and regulations are very important to aspect of Hajj, because everybody who is doing or performing the Hajj needs to understand the rules and regulations. Because Hajj is a major act of worship and is one of the pillars of Islam. It requires precision and sincerity. If mistakes can invalidate parts of the pilgrimage, it invalidates parts of the pilgrimage. And if you do some sort of incorrect actions in the Hajj, the mistakes can either erase the Hajj or invalidate part of the pilgrimage. So it is essential for every one of us need to understand the rules of the Hajj. And also it ensures safety and respect the millions of pilgrims. If you do not know the rules and regulations, if you do incorrectly, it doesn't only affect us, it also affects the co-pilgrimage people. Because if you're going to stuck in one place and if you do not move, that's going to affect the co-pilgrimage people. So we do not want to do that. So we need to understand what are we going to do on each day of the Hajj. That's what we are going to here to explain. And the proper knowledge helps pilgrimage to avoid unnecessary hardships and fulfill their spiritual duty correctly. So these are the four aspects that we all need to understand. Because we spend millions and millions, and we also spend our health and wealth to go Makkah to perform the Hajj. So we spend money, we spend our time, we take our health, everything that we do once in a lifetime, and in order for us to make it as an acceptable Hajj, we need to understand the rules and regulations. That is the most important thing that we all should know. The second one is the rules and regulations of the Hajj. There are so much of rules there and regulations there in order for every one of us needs to understand and follow the same thing while we perform the Hajj. First of all, the timing. When do we do the Hajj? It is Dhul-Hijjah 8 to 13. And if you look at that, there are only 5 or 6 days. Totally 6 days of the Hajj. Totally 6 days of the Hajj. The 6 days are optional. Next one is there are certain rules, for Ihram. Everybody who is doing performing the Hajj, should go under Ihram, and there are certain rules and regulations for the Ihram. Explain in a bit, inshallah. And also there are actions for every Hajj days. We will explain in each of every day what are the days that we are going to do for each day. So there are certain actions we all have to do. In other words, what is the 8th day actions, what is the 9th day action, what is the 10th day action. So each and every day there will be certain actions prescribed by and taught by our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We will explain in a bit. Then the most important thing is the important rules that every Hajis should follow. At the time of Hajj days, we need to all maintain the good character, and also we should avoid arguments there. So the arguments and unnecessary talk will invalidate our pilgrimage. That is much important that we all have to understand. And we need to assist and respect each other in the month of in the period of Hajj. And we need to stay pure. There should be no sexual relations, proposals, and inappropriate behavior during the Hajj. We will explain everything in a way. Then Allah says in the Quran, chapter 3, verse number 97, the Hajj is obligated, mandatory for those people who are eligible. The eligible means you have wealth and health, and the Hajj is mandatory for all of us. Whoever has the money and the wealth and health we are all be eligible to do the Hajj, at least once in a lifetime. That's what Allah says in the Quran, chapter 3, verse number 97.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So brother Sheikh went over the introduction, and as part of it, the preparation of Hajj is also more vital. Like we suggest, like people start preparing like around 6 to 7 months earlier, because we need to select the correct the services, the Hajj service, whichever you are going to take. You may need to do reviews, because based on our experience, we have seen when we talk to some of the people there during Hajj, they said like we were supposed to come last year, but they selected an Hajj service which wasn't good, and they cancelled at the last moment. And there are instances where Hajj services have charged a lot, like at the end of the moment. So because of which, if you would have made all our plans, but if the Hajj service is not correct, you will not be able to do it. So it's important we inquire about many Hajj services and select the correct one, like to take free feedbacks from your friends or so. So it's always important you start your preparations early. Also, the most important thing when we do as part of selecting Hajj services, like the package or the service whomever you are going to take, it's more important we check with them, are they doing in terms of Quran and Sunnah? Because we have seen some of the Hajj services, because whoever is going to take you, normally they will have an imam or so, you will be following them. If they are not going to perform Hajj as per Quran and Sunnah, you will also end up doing the same. We have seen many of the Hajj services whereby they do some of the ibadah, in the name of ibadah, they do bid'ah. So we should make sure we don't select such Hajj services. Inquire, make as much inquiries as possible, and try to get the Hajj services who do as per Quran and Sunnah, which is our authentic hadith. And as part of it, you can start going through some of the videos and lectures, so you will know like what are all the things you have to do Hajj. Don't keep it till the last moment. If you start preparing earlier, you have more questions, and you can get it answered even before you go. And the other part is like there are some of the du'as and dhikr that you will do as part of Hajj. So for we will describe more in detail. But for example, when we start in Tawaf, what should we do? And as part of like circling, what are the du'as we have to recite? From Safa to Marwa, what we have to do? And if we are like as part of Talbiyah, what we have to say? These are some of the things you can prepare much earlier. Even though you can use your mobile, like if you don't remember at that time, it will be much helpful for you. If you memorize well ahead, it will make your Hajj, performing Hajj much easier. So we suggest that you start your preparations earlier, go through the videos, select the Hajj service that is based on Quran and Sunnah, and memorize. Also go through the steps like what you have to do, what would be your next step. This will definitely help you as part of your Hajj.
Alright, so since we have started preparing for the Hajj, we need to understand what are the types of Hajj that we have. There are three different types that we all need to understand. The Rasulullah taught us there are three different types. One is tamattu, typically like one put on a ihram. First they do the umrah, then they come out of the umrah ihram, then they stay in a normal period for some time. Then they when the Hajj starts, they again put on ihram, they do the Hajj. That's the first type that tamattu. This is the type of Hajj that majority of the people do. I mean, from India or from US or from wherever country that you are related to go Hajj, most of the travel services offer this type of Hajj. The second type is Qiran. Qiran is, in one ihram you do both, like Umrah and Hajj at simultaneously. Like you do that with one ihram. The third type is Ifrat. Ifrat is, you don't do Umrah with your ihram. You do just only Hajj. That's Ifrat. That's the third type of Hajj. So now they will explain what is the Hajjul Tamattu that most of the people that do in Hajj. First of all, performed by the most majority of the pilgrims is Hajjul Tamattu. And like I said, performing Hajj and Umrah in the same journey. And an intention for Umrah is made before the Miqat. Miqat is a boundary where you start wearing your, say, Niyah for Hajj, Umrah and Hajj, and you start wearing the Ihram. There are four different Miqat. In next slide, Brother Yunus will explain what are the Miqats and how do we start from the Miqats. Then after completing the Umrah means we all know that 7 times that we do the tawaf in Makkah. Then we do the sa'i. The 7 time running between Safa and Marwa. Then we do take a shave and then we come out of the ihram. That's the Umrah. So that's a separate video that we already have shooted and we recorded, and it's there in our YouTube site, Thowheed Talks. And if you would like to see how do we perform Umrah, you are welcome to see the series. Most of the rules and regulations of the Umrah is also applicable in Hajj as well. Then once Umrah is done, then you come out of the Ihram and you stay for some days, and when Dhul Hijjah 8 starts, then you again start putting your Ihram, saying Niyah, then you do the Hajj. That's the type of Hajjul Tamattu.
So, brother mentioned about Miqat. So, what is Miqat? Miqat is the boundary before which we have to enter into a state of Ihram. Like Ihram, brother will describe more, but in general, Ihram is not the dress, although it is a state. Some things will be prohibited. So, before which boundary we have to make sure we are in the state of Ihram is mentioned. And Sahih Bukhari 1524, Prophet Muhammad has clearly mentioned it. He has mentioned 4 places. One is Dhul Hulaifa. This is for the people of Medina. Those people in Medina, for them, Dhul Hulaifa is the boundary. Before it, they have to enter into the state of Ihram. So if they have to do like Tamattu Hajj, they have to say like Labbaik Umratan, because they do the Umrah first. And for the people of Sham, it is Al Juhfa. And third one, Karnal Manazil. This is for the people of Najd. And Yalamlam for the people of Yemen. So these 4 are the boundaries that Prophet Muhammad has specifically mentioned in the Hadith. And these also acts as the boundary or miqat for people who enter. So for instance, for the people of India, we normally go through Yalamlam. So our miqat or the boundary will be Yalamlam. So before that, we have to be in the state of Ihram. So if you are going in a flight or so, either when you start from India, there are the place you can wear your dress, or maybe if you have a flight like first flight goes to, for example, Bahrain, and after that you go there, you can even change if you have enough time. So you can enter into the state of Ihram, you have to make sure you wear the dress. And before crossing that boundary, even in the flight, they will normally remain. You see, like within 5 or 10 minutes, we will be crossing that boundary. So you can remember and say like Labbaik Umratan if you are doing Hajj and Umrah together. Or if you think like you might forget, like you might sleep, you can even say it earlier. But before that boundary, you have to say that niyat, and you also have to be in the state of Ihram. And regarding the miqat, so as I said, for people crossing the same, these 4 are the boundaries, and people who live within that boundary, for them is also same. For the people of Makkah, they have to start from the place where they are starting. So this mark is the miqat for them.
Alright, so far we have stated about most of the time like Ihram. What is Ihram? Like brother Yunus, Ihram doesn't mean only the 2 pieces of cloth. It is also part of Ihram. Ihram mainly consists of a Niyah, first of all. So if you go for just Umrah alone, you say that Labbaik Umrah. That's your Niyah. That's the first thing that you need to say. So if you're going to do Tamattu Hajj, the very first thing you're going to do is Umrah. So first you have to say Labbaik Umrah. Or if you're going to do the Ifrat type of Hajj, then you say only Labbaik Hajj. That's only for Hajj. So let's assume that we are to Tamattu Hajj. So first of all, we have to say Labbaik Umrah because that's the first activity that we will do. Once you do Labbaik Umrah, you have to stay before the miqat, like brother said. There are 4 miqat that he explained. So we have to say the niyah before we start, before we reach the miqat, and we have to start wearing the 2 pieces of unstitched cloth. These all can be seen in Sunan Nasai 2729, Sunan Ibn Majah 2968, and Sunan An-Nasai 2731. All these references are stated about what should we say? The state of Ihram. What are we going to wear? What is the state of Ihram mean? So everything can be seen in these three different hadiths. And so typically Ihram means like those that are halal becomes haram after ending the Ihram. Say for example, so many things can be halal for us. I know once you get into state of Ihram, that can be haram. Say for example, you cannot. This can be explained, in the next slide. But you will see that things that are halal will be haram in the state. So we need to be very much careful and cautious at the stage of Ihram.
So, in the state of Ihram, like as brother stated, some of the things that normally it's halal for us becomes haram. So, we go through some of the things which is common for both men and women. Some of the things that is haram, like during the state of Ihram. That is removing or like clipping or cutting your hairs becomes haram. So, this we can see in Quran chapter number 2, verse number 196. Also, you are keeping your nails. That also becomes haram. So once when you enter the state of ihram, you are not supposed to cut your hair. You are not supposed to trim your nails. This we can see in Sahih Muslim 1977. And the third one is you are not supposed to put or apply perfume on your body. So we would like to give a few clarifications with regards to perfume. So perfume becomes haram only after you enter state of ihram. Say you are preparing or you are wearing dress, like even before starting. At the time, can you put perfume on the dress? Absolutely, yes, you can put. We also have some of the references where Prophet like Aisha applied perfume for Prophet Muhammad. So considering that, before entering into the state of Ihram, you can definitely apply. But once you come into the state, you are not supposed to apply any perfume. This we can see in Sahih Bukhari 1265, 1266, 1850 and 1851. And the fourth important thing is, we are not supposed to involve in marriage or even discuss anything about marriage. Normally, like we will see, like you will go with your relations or friends or something, so we will have a lot of time to be talking with them. We have to make sure we avoid such kind of talks, like I have a boy or I have a bride, I have a bridegroom, that can be involved in any. This discussion should not be done at all, because it's clearly mentioned in Hadith Sahih Muslim 1409. They should not involve in marriage, they should not do marriage, or they should not arrange for any kind of marriage. So we should avoid complete discussion, anything related to marriage in the state of Ihram. And the fifth one is, there should not be any sexual relationship during this period. It is haram. And to say that this is mentioned in Quran, chapter number 2, verse number 197. And the word that Allah uses is Fala Rafatha. So even though we say sexual relationship, the rafatha meaning also says any close intimacy, like hugging or kissing, those are also prohibited. So all these are prohibited during the state of ihram. And the sixth one is hunting animals. We are not supposed to hunt any animals. Mostly we will not be doing this, but during the period of Prophet like Sahabas used to hunt animals and do for them. This you can see in Quran chapter number 5, verse number 94 to 96. It will be mentioned you are not supposed to be hunting. And to give a clarification, in the same Quran verses between 94 to 96, it will say that you are not supposed to hunt only those in the land. Allah gives an exception where He says if it is in the seafood, like if it is in the sea, it's okay. Only those that is in the land, it is forbidden.
Alright, now let's talk about the prohibition only for men. We all know that the covering head is also prohibited during the state of ihram. So we should not cover our head. We should not put a skull cap. We should not put turban or knee cap or anything, even normal towel or anything. We should not cover our head at all. That's prohibited at the state of ihram. This can be seen in Sahih Bukhari 1265, 1266, and 1839. All three different hadiths stated that we should not cover our head in the state of ihram. Now, next, wearing stitched cloth is also prohibited in the state of ihram. In ihram, we have two pieces of unstitched cloth. You can see that we will explain a little bit that those will be given by your travel agency, whoever has arranged your Hajj program. You will be given those two pieces. That is the piece that you should be wearing at the state of ihram. You should not wear anything, stitched clothes. That can be seen in Sahih Bukhari 134, 366, 1542, 1842, 5794. There are so many hadith that states that we should not wear stitched cloth for men. The next thing is wearing a socks or a footwear covering your ankles. The ankles should not be covered for men. You can wear the socks and the footwear, but that should not cover the ankle. So this can be seen in Sahih Bukhari 134, 366, 1542, 1842, and 5794. These three things are specifically for men. So we need to be very much cautious. We want to make sure that we travel far away. We spend so much of money, we're taking time off from our work, and we have to make sure that we all follow that state of the ground. These are prohibited only for men. So we have to be careful with that. These three things.
So now, like we saw the common one for men and women, and brother explained about men. For women, do we have something specifically prohibited? For them, they do not have any restriction on dress like men. But for them, only two of the things are prohibited. One is they should not cover their face, covering their face. The other one is they are not supposed to wear gloves. These two we can see in Sahih Bukhari 1838, where it's mentioned like Prophet says, a muhrima or a woman should not cover their face, nor should they wear their gloves. And here we would like to give one more clarifications. Like you would have seen people like mostly from India, they normally wear a cap. Even normally you can see they wear a black cap also. So there isn't any such restriction. Normally they have to cover their head, which they can do using the normal scarf, but wearing a cap. And we also see that even after they return back from Hajj, you see those people wearing their caps, they keep on doing it. There isn't any references like that. So these two are the special things like prohibited for them, and if they follow this should be good enough.
Alright, so after the state of Ihram, so the next step is like just to start saying Thalbiyyah. Thalbiyyah is one of the important aspects after the Ihram state, we have to start saying Thalbiyyah. This can be seen in Sahih Bukhari 1549, 1550, 5950. What is Thalbiyyah means? We have to say Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika lak labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. What does it mean? Here I am, oh Allah, here I am. Here I am, you have no partner. Here I am. Surely all praises, blessings, and sovereignty belongs to you. You have no partner. This is the meaning. So this can be saying in a loud voice. This can be saying in a very loud voice. This is what Rasulullah taught us. Keep saying the Thalbiyyah until the throwing of the stones to the bigger Jamara al-Aqaba on the day of Nahar, the 10th day, the day of Eid. We stone only on the bigger Jamara. After the Jamara, until that, we have to say the Thalbiyyah in a very loud voice. This can be seen in Sahih Bukhari 1544, 1683, and 1687. And we have to keep on raising our voice while we say the Thalbiyyah. Rasulullah encourages us to say Thalbiyyah in a very loud voice. Even during the Tawaf, we do the Mina, when we are in the Arafah, when Mustalifa, all the days that we have to say Thalbiyyah in a very loud voice. The rising of voice can be seen in Sunan Ibn Majah 2923. So we have to be very much, rising our voice while we say Thalbiyyah. Alright, now we get into the Hajj days. This is the day that we start preparing for our Hajj. This is actual Hajj. The Hajj starts on Dhul Hijjah 8. Dhul Hijjah 8 to Dhul Hijjah 13 are the only Hajj days. The 6th day are optional, like I said earlier, but we'll say one by one. So people typically stay before they start to Mina. They typically stay in Azizia. It's a place where in Mecca, where all the Hajjis will put on stay. From there, only people start to go to Mina. If you look at here, like I said, the actual Hajj consists of only 5 to 6 days. The Hajj days are between Dhul Hijjah 8 to 13. The 13th day is an optional day. Dhul Hijjah day, 8th day is that's where we start to go to Mina. We'll explain one by one. The Dhul Hijjah 9th day, we start from Mina to Arafah. In the night, we go from Arafah to Mustalifa. Then Dhul Hijjah 10th, from Mustalifa to Mina, and again Mina to Jamara. then Jamarat of Masjid al-Haram or Tawaf and Sa'i. Then Dhul Hijjah 11th and 12th, all we do is from Mina to Jamarat to stone all three Jamarat. The 13th day is an optional day. If you miss out on the 12th day to stone three Jamarat before Maghrib, then you can stay on the 13th day and you can do the stoning. Or if you are done on 12th day before Maghrib, you can leave. So in Quran, there's an optional day mentioned by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. The 13th day is optional.
As brother mentioned, our first day of Hajj starts on Dhul Hijjah 8th. So normally the previous day, like Dhul Hijjah 7, you will normally stay in Azizia. It will be a lodge where people will stay, and from Azizia will be taken to Mina. And as per the authentic hadith, Rasulullah said you have to reach Mina like by Dhuhr. And this might be different, like based on your Hajj service and the country you come from. They might even take you even much earlier. They will explain like what is the hadith over it, but in general, based on your travel, you also need to understand like they may say like at around 1 a.m. also they might start like around in the night, like in the state of the starting of the Dhul Hijjah in the night, you may need to move. So based on your Hajj service, I think you do not have an option, you may need to follow them. So you start your day. So this Dhul Hijjah, as I said, this since is the first day, you enter into the state of Ihram. So if you done Umrah, you would have done your Umrah and you would have gone back like out of state of Ihram, where you would have started changing your dress and others. So again back on this day, you normally like you have to wear the dress, like whatever the Ihram state you have to do, you will all be doing it. And say you are about to start and you are in the bus also, then you have to remember, like you have to say that dua, like the niyat, like labbaik hajjan, because you are going to start your Hajj. So you start saying the bus also, then or you might go in and the train, depending on the Hajj service. So they'll take you to Mina. So what is Mina? Mina is a location where generally if you see it's an open ground, they would have put lot of tents over there. So based on a Hajj service, you might have like 50 people in a tent or 60 people, and they will transport you, you will go to Mina. And in Mina on the Dhul Hijjah 8, what we will be doing is, we'll just stay there and we'll do our normal prayers. So we'll do like all this are mentioned in a single hadith reported by Jafar anhu. So in Sahih Muslim 12:18 you can see. So Rasulullah used to pray noon prayer, meaning Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha in Mina. This all happens in Dhul Hijjah 8. And there is one more narration like Sahih Bukhari 1083. It is also in 1082, 1655 and 1656, where it's mentioned they used to shorten the prayer. So there is only qasr in Mina. So you go there, like say you reach there before Dhuhr, so you pray Dhuhr on the time. Similarly, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. In all this, except for Maghrib, all other prayers you only pray 2 rakats. So as per this hadith. And what else we do? Normally we will be taking rest, as well as like you can talk with them like regarding Islamic aspects also. You do a lot of Thalbiyyah, as well as you can do a lot of dhikr. So our duty over here is just to stay there and do the prayer. This is the Dhul Hijjah 8. And describing about like this is how it will be in Mina. Like you have tents, and inside tents, so if you see there will be narrow places, like it will be like a seat. Depending again, it depends on the Hajj service. You might have like a seat where a person can sit, and that can extend in a way whereby you will be able to sleep. Like you can stretch your leg and sleep. And it will be very narrow, so you have to adjust based on whatever the space you have, and you might even need to keep your bag in the same place as well. But another way you will see a different one. You will have a lot of good things over there. You might feel like the tent and the heat, but with all those people over there and always doing dhikr and others, you talk with them, you discuss about a lot of Islamic aspect, you keep saying Thalbiyyah. Alhamdulillah, you have a very good time over there. So you don't hijab week, the rule is to stay in Mina and do all the 4 like Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha, and you shorten the prayer.
Now we are into day 2, Dhul Hijjah 9. This is one of the important days in Hajj. Rasulullah say Hajj means Arafah. Those who don't say Arafah even for a little bit, their Hajj is invalid. So Hajj means Arafah. This is the most important days of the Hajj. If you look at that, people stay, pray Fajr on the Mina, and after the sunrise, they start walking, they start taking buses, they start taking trains to reach Arafah. Think about 3 million people going from Mina to Arafah. There will be a lot of challenges, a lot of logistics problems, a lot of huge, problems will happen. You need to understand that you are not the only one who is to do the Hajj. There are so many people, 3 million people there. So you need to give respect, and you need to understand the government problem and logistics problem. There will be, at the time you will be blocked. At the time you will be blocked in railway station for 3 hours, 4 hours. You have to stay. Yes, we have to stay. At the time you will be asked to walk for 9 kilometers or 5 kilometers. Yes, we have to. There's no other way. Sometimes the roads will be blocked for buses. So those kind of logistics will happen, and we all have to bear. We should not get into an argument. That's one of the good aspects that all the Hajj should take care of it. So let's get into that. So you do it the night, the day 2. So after the sunrise, all the Hajjis will start moving from Mina to Arafah. Arafah is a place where you will see a lot of tents again, and there is a place called Jabal al-Rahmat. There is a huge mountain where people will stand in cover throughout the mountain. You will see from the top of the hill. Mashallah, is a very beautiful view. You could see that actually. Pure white grass, people, with the white grass, you could see the top of the mountain full of whites covered by the people. Hajj, 3 million people staying over there. That's a place. I mean, Jabal Rahman is a place. It's one place in the Arafah where some people may not get into that, the mountain. You can stay in your tent because you have to stay in tent for at least a little bit of time to have your Hajj validity. Now let's get into the Akira part of the thowheed night. What we have to do is we have to pray Dhuhr and Asr as a Jammu Asr in Arafah. So what does it mean is in one adhan with the 2 ikamas we have to pray 2 rakat Dhuhr, 2 rakat Asr. That is what Rasul taught us. So 2 plus 2 rakat. This can be seen in Sahih Muslim 12:18. And we should not be over smart about this particular ruling because Allah says that in many verses of the Quran, Atiullahu wa atiur Rasul. Whatever Allah says that obey Allah and His Messenger. Some people you might have seen. That's the reason why the believer said that choosing your travel agent is also one of the main aspect of going to Hajj. In certain travel agency, they don't follow this particular sunnah. They just do 4 rakat, 4 rakat asr. You may see that actually. But the actual sunnah here in Arafah for Dhuhr and Asr is to do Jammu Asr. This is what Rasul did and taught us to do. So 2 in one adhan with the 2 ikamas, 2 plus 2. Almost 95% of the people will do this actually. Very few in situations where you might have seen the other ways people, start thinking that I will do only 4. Why should I reduce? I mean, people thinking that they will get more ajat, but that's a innovation. That's that's a bid'ah. So we have to make sure that we do the Jammu Asr and Asr. The most important aspect of the deed that we have to do is we have to make more du'as in Arafah. That is the most important thing that we have to ask. So we all have to keep in mind that in Arafah we have to ask more du'as. Irrespective of it. Not dua, couple of hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, doesn't matter. As long as many times and whatever that you ask, ask as much as you can. And Rasulullah said like Hajj is Arafah. This can be seen in Jammu 2975, Sunan Nasai 3016. And like I said, make more duas can be seen in Sunan Nasai 3003 and 3011. Then when we stay in Arafah until sunset, we should stay in Arafah. Until sunset, we should stay in Arafah. Now, Maghrib time starts, we should not pray Maghrib in Arafah. That is another important thing. We should not be over smart in this. We should not pray Maghrib after sunset in Arafah. We should start moving out of Arafah to Muzdalifah. Again, there will be 3 million people, 3 million plus people start moving from Arafah to Muzdalifah by walking, by bus, by train. You have to adjust your logistics and you have to go to whatever the travel agency, has accommodated for you, you have to go with them. Now we should not pray Maghrib in Arafah. Once you reach Muzdalifah, you have to again do Jamul Qasr. You know, Jamul Qasr in Muzdalifah to pray Maghrib and Isha. Maghrib 3 rakah, Isha 2 rakah. This is how we should pray in Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is an open space where you will not see any tents for you to get accommodated. It's an open space. It's a bare land. So some people may have a blanket, some people may have some beds. Depends on the zoning or the type of agency that you book. You may get some beds. Typically, mostly it's a bare land. You will get your blanket. Just spread your blanket. You're going to sleep there. That's it. Typically, people in Arafah, whoever do the Hajj will not be fasting. That's another important rule that we should all understand. The fasting is only for those people who do not do the Hajj. The fasting is not obligatory for the people who does the Hajj. So we should not fast on Arafah day in Hajj. All other people should fast on the Arafah. It's a sunnah fasting. I mean, whoever wants to get their past sins forgiven, they take fast in Arafah day. So like I said, pray Maghrib and Isha Jamul Qasr with one adhan and 2 iqamah. This can be seen in Sahih Muslim 1280. And we have to sleep in the open space in Muzdalifah, Sahih Muslim 1280. This is the place, the Muzdalifah is the place where people start collecting stones for Rami, for stoning. So Muzdalifah is a place where you can find stoning. Means some people may pick up the bigger stones like they were thinking that they are the one who's pretending the Satan, and they are thinking that Satan is going to be visible. They are going to stone the Satan. No, it's all it's just an example that Ibrahim alayhi salam has done that, and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has demonstrated this is the way how it should be done. Pick up the small stones. How the 7 stones for each Jamara. For the 10th day, you are going to do only Masjid in Jamaratul Aqaba. So 7 stones required. The 11th day and 12th day, you only require 21 stones, because you are going to do 3 Jamara. So 21, 42 plus 7, 49. So you can pick up 49 stones. If you are going to stay the 13th day, if you are going to think that you are going to stone again, so pick up another 21 stones. So think about this perspective and pick up small stones in Muzdalifah. Keep up those stones and stay in Muzdalifah in the night in open space. This can be seen in Sahih Muslim 1280.
One. So, as brother mentioned, like the travel, based on the travel, you can have further delays and others. Similarly, one other thing like I would like to remind in Dhul Hijjah 8 when you are in Mina. So, as we said, like we'll do our 4 prayers, and this Dhul Hijjah the day is also called as Day of Tharbiyyah. Like Dhul Hijjah 8 is also called Day of Tharbiyyah, and for prayer preparations, normally you see in the restaurants will be limited sort of restrooms. So if you go just before the prayer to do wudu, you might end up standing in a queue where you might have like 5 or 6 people. So plan in a way where just go an hour earlier. If you go an hour earlier, you might have only 1 or 2 people. In that way, you will make sure that you can do wudu and be ready for all the prayers, and you'll be able to get the Jamaat. This is one thing I wanted to remember. And also remember, this is also called as Day of.
Alright, so now we are in the day of doing Hajj. We know the people who are not part of are not doing Hajj. All the people will be celebrating Eid on the day. But the people who do the Hajj will be on a bare legs and a dirty cloth, and they will not be celebrating Eid, because the people who does the Hajj do not have a Eid on the day. So they will be in the Muzdalifah with the bare legs and the dirty cloths. Inside the Muslim 12:18, we have to pray Fajr in Muzdalifah. Once the sun rises, then we start moving to Mina again. From Muzdalifah to Mina, that's where the ground starts stoning. We can see that in Mashar al-Haram, we can start making more du'as. Can we see in Sahih Muslim 12:18? Then we will leave to Jamara. This is the first time that after the midday. Once the midday passes, we have to start the story of the bigger one only. The bigger one called Jamaratul Aqaba. There are 3 different Jamarat to be there. The bigger one called Jamaratul Aqaba. That is the only Zavara that we are gonna store. So you can see here, this is the bigger one. If you go to Jamara first, you will see first the smaller one, the medium one, the bigger one. In the 10th day, you're gonna store only the bigger one first. That's what they're gonna do here. So you can see here, store 7 times, then make dua. This can be seen in Sahih Muslim 12:18. 12:18. And we are going to Jamara. It is suggested that whenever the time is allocated for your health services for your country, go with them, because not many health services can get a chance to go after midday. Some people will be allowed to go in the morning, some people will allow only go in the night. So don't worry, don't bother about it, because it's all because of the logistics problem, because of the crowd. The government will be allotted, certain countries, certain times. So sometimes, our country may not get a priority to go on a day. You will be allowed only on the night, so it doesn't matter. So Salam has allowed, but it can happen, before or after. The event can switch based on the logistics. So that's okay. And once we are done with the Rani and the bigger Jamarat, we have to do the Qurbani, because we are in the Tamattu Hajj. We are doing Tamattu Hajj. Tamattu Hajj have a Qurbani. Islam doesn't need a Qurbani. So we need to understand the 3 different Hajj. What needs Qurbani, what doesn't need Qurbani. So Tamattu al-Quran would need a Qurbani. Ifrat doesn't need. What you can see is even saying Sahih Muslim 12:18. You can see that we need a Qurbani for after stoning and the Jamaratul Aqaba. Then the men should stop saving their hair. You can shave it or you can keep it, but Rasul encouraged 3 times to do the shaving the hair. So make sure that you shave the hair. That's given priority. That can be seen in Sahih al-Bukhari 17:27. Women can clip the hair, and this is the time where you are out of ihram. So when you are out of ihram means not 100% you are out of ihram. Almost you are out of ihram, except you cannot do intercourse with your spouse. That's still prohibited. So you are almost out of ihram.
Next session.
Alright, so I think we are the middle of the session. Let's get a break for a little bit. Then we'll come back again to start from day 10. Day 10 is the most busiest day of Hajj, because we're going to do a lot of activities. So that's why we stop here. Once we come back, then we'll explain what are the things that they're going to do on day 10 and 11 and 12 onwards. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have a question at the end. Yeah,
we have just completed learning Haj Tharbiyyah part 1, and I would like to say a beautiful journey.
யூனிஸ் பாய் அங்க நில்லுங்க, நான் சொல்றேன். அங்க நில்லுங்க பாய். பாய் அப்படியே லெஃப்ட் வாங்க. அப்படியே இங்க வந்து இதுல வந்துட்டீங்கன்னா கை பாருங்க, கையில தெரிஞ்சு பாருங்க. இந்த லெஃப்ட் தெரியுதா? ஷேடோ விழுது. இங்க ரைட் வாங்க. கரெக்ட். மைக் யாரும் ஜூம் பண்ண
और
சொல்லிட்டு இருக்குது. ஃபோக்கஸ் கொடுங்க, ஃபோக்கஸ் கொடுங்க. எல்லாம் என்ன பண்ணுங்க. என்னவா போயிட்டுனியா Ustaz Ustaz. Muchas questions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. So in the first session we covered till portion of the day of Dhul Hijjah then. Dhul Hijjah, the day 3 or the 10th in the Dhul Hijjah then, it is also called the day of Nahr, sacrifice, day of Nahr. So once you learn out of the state of Ihram, the next one that we normally do as part of Hajj, as we normally start wearing colors and other things. So you go to Masjid al-Haram and there are two activities that you have to do as part of Hajj. So the first thing that we do is please. So the first time when we reach Masjid al-Haram, what we have to do is we have to do the tawaf. So with respect to tawaf, what is tawaf? Tawaf is circling the Kaaba 7 times. So that is called as tawaf. So in terms of tawaf, I would like to do a little bit more explanation. We have multiple types of tawaf. So during Hajj, like day of Dhul Hajj, like 10, the tawaf that we do is called tawaf ifada. But tawaf ifada. But if you do as like Hajj and Umrah, like Umrah and Hajj, like when you enter Makkah, the first thing that you do is like as part of the Umrah, you do tawaf al-qudum, like arrival tawaf. It is called arrival tawaf. There is a few differences between tawaf al-qudum and tawaf al-ifada. Because when you do tawaf al-qudum, you will be in the state of ihram. And there are few differences. One is that you will be in the state of ihram. So when you do the tawaf as part of circling, you have to do it like this is very specifically for tawaf al-qudum. Your right shoulder could be visible and your dress will come, the upper portion of the body dress will come like below your armpit and it should be put on the left shoulder as shown by brother shape. So normally we do like this, but during tawaf alone, we have to make sure the right shoulder is visible and the dress should come below the armpit and it should be put on the left shoulder. This is very specifically during Umrah or tawaf al-qudum. And other ruling for tawaf al-qudum is when you are circling 7 times, the first 3 rounds you have to do a little bit faster. You can walk a little bit faster, and the next 4 you can do the normal walking. So this we can see in Sahih Bukhari 1670, and for the dress we can see like Sunan Abu Dawud 1883. But as part of Dhul Hajj 10, when we do tawaf, which is called tawaf al-ifada, for all the 7 circlings, we do in the normal case. That we can see in Sunan Ibn Majah 3060. So now, how do we start it? From where do we start our tawaf? Because you can enter through multiple gates. There are many gates over there. So you can enter through any gates. So whichever gate you enter, you have to make sure the first place that you start your tawaf is from Hajj al-Aswad, the last one, the cornerstone. So you go to that place and from that portion this way you start your tawaf. And this we can see in Sahih Bukhari 1611, 1612, 1613. Like whatever I will mention it will be there. And to start from Hajj al-Aswad, you can see in Sunan Abu Dawud 1889. So our person is to go and start from Hajj al-Aswad. So if you see like during Hajj time, it will be very crowded. So in Hajj, if you see the crowd is to touch, kiss, and then if you say Allah Akbar and then start. But based on the crowd, which is it will almost be impossible unless like it's very rare when you even be able to touch Kaaba. So that's how it will be crowded. But we can see other hadiths where Prophet has shown signs. So if possible, you go and touch, but most probably based on the crowd, it will not be possible. So what we can do is, so that, as I said, like in the right side there will be indicator. We have a green light over there. So from that portion you start, you turn towards Kaaba. So here, like in this, if you see, here is the right side corner, whichever is mentioned over there in the circle, that is where we have Hajj as well. So based on the indication, then you turn towards it, you say a sign, and then you click, and then you say Allah Akbar. Start. So this is the starting step, and you start from Hajar al-Aswad, and you walk around. So what do you have to say? So you start and you are walking around. Why should we say anything? Here we have to be very fast, and you see like people from different countries will come. They'll say different dua. It is very unfortunate to see that because people from different countries, even though they wear the similar dresses, the ibadat that we do is not the same. We do not find any authentic hadith or references where Prophet did anything other than walking. So what is the ibadah in that place is just walking is ibadah. So if you are going with your spouse or something, you can even talk with them. There isn't any restriction, but there isn't any dhikr or dua you have to do. But you will see people, there will be a way there, they'll have some book, they'll be keeping on reciting those things. Those are all are bidah, and we have to make sure we avoid it. So we go around Kaaba, and also when we are going around Kaaba, we also need to make sure we also circulate Kaaba Hijr. So what is Hijr is? So we all know like Kaaba is like rectangular or curved in shape, but actual shape of Kaaba is it will have three corners, and the fourth one will be a semicircle. So that is the actual shape of Kaaba. This we can see in Sunan Abu Dawud 2028. So if you circulate around, so this curve that we are talking about will be here. We should make sure to also circle around this one. We should not go here because this is also part of Kaaba. So you have to circle around Hijr. You start from Hajar al-Aswad, you go out, then before the corner of Hajar al-Aswad, there is one corner called that is called Rukn Yamani or Yamani corner. So till that portion, you do not have to do anything or you do not have to say anything. But once you reach Rukn Yamani, we see Prophet again doing a sign like towards the direction. And from Rukn Yamani, because again starting to the Hajar al-Aswad, you can say this dua. What is that? Rabbana atina, like we normally say this. Rabbana atina dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Ya Allah, bring blessing in this world and the hereafter and save us from hellfire. So this is the only dua that you can say when you reach Rukn Yamani to Hajar al-Aswad. You can say this. So once you reach Hajar al-Aswad back, you complete one tawaf. So this you will do 7 times. So once you finish 7, this marks the completion of tawaf. So first when you enter Hajar al-Aswad, the first time when you enter Masjid al-Haram, the first time you do is tawaf.
Yeah, from there to there, this is where you need to recite the dua. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. This is Yamani Rukn Yamani, and this is the Hajar al-Aswad. So from here to here, once you are doing tawaf, when you start here, start saying Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Then stop here. One round is done. Then start your second round.
So as brother mentioned, it's from this corner to this, you will say the Rabbana atina surah. Then after you Hajar again, like sorry, Aswad, you can again see like based on that, you turn towards left side, you do the same thing, you make a sign, you kiss and you say Allah Akbar. This you have to repeat 7 times. So after completing tawaf, the next thing Prophet has done is he has went and prayed behind Maqam Ibrahim. So there is some questions like people say like what does Maqam Ibrahim? It just mean a particular store where you stand and pray, or is it a station, or what exactly it means? But based on hadith in Sahih Bukhari 16:23, we can understand it's one of the direction. Like if you see here, this is Maqam Ibrahim, which will point to Kaaba. So when Prophet mentions you to do 2 records behind Maqam Ibrahim, even in Maqam Ibrahim you can see there are marked some spaces for prayer. So you have to pray from this portion pointing towards Kaaba. So on the direction on the side of Maqam Ibrahim pointing towards Kaaba you have to pray. That's what it means, pray from Maqam Ibrahim. So you have to pray 2 records. And Prophet has recited two of these, like Al-Fatiha, followed by for each of the record. One of the records is recited Kulya al-Kafiru. For the other one is recited Kul Allahu Ahad. This we can see in Sunan al-Nasa'i 2963. And same we can see in Sahih Muslim 1218 as well. This would have been detailedly reported. And once we are done with two rakats Maqam Ibrahim, the third act that we do in Masjid al-Haram is Sa'i. So what is Sa'i? Sa'i is like walking from Safa to Marwa 7 times. So this detailed explanation of whatever Prophet has done, we can see in Sahih Muslim 1218. So after doing two rakats in Maqam Ibrahim, Prophet went to Safa first. So after doing this, he recited the Quran ayat chapter number 2, verse number 158. In Safa wal Marwa min sha'airillah, meaning Al-Safa and Marwa are among the symbols or signs of Allah. So after praying rakat and two rakat in Maqam Ibrahim, we have to go to Safa and then recite in Safa wal Marwa min sha'airillah. Let me it will better if you memorize it. And after reciting it, Prophet turn towards Kaaba. Like it will be like you can see like some stones will be there in Safa. So after reaching there, so here, so after going to the in Maqam Ibrahim, you will come to Safa here, and from that place you will turn towards Kaaba. Like Prophet used to turn towards Kaaba, and then he used to recite this dhikr like La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu. وهو على كل شيء قدير لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وهزم الأحزاب وحده. So this you have to say 3 times. Let's see point C towards Kaaba, and in between each you have to ask dua. Whatever dua you want, you can ask. So this is what Prophet did. After that, what he did was he walked from Safa to Marwa. When he was walking like Safa to Marwa, there is a particular place where you are supposed to like jog a little bit faster or walk faster. And you can see like there are continuous green lights. If you see in Masjid al-Haram, there are continuous green lights. So when you come over there alone, rather than walking normally, you just jog around to the place, and once it finishes, you normally walk and reach Marwa. So this marks 1. So once you reach Marwa, you follow the same thing, except like you will not say the Quran, because once you reach there, after that Prophet again he turns towards from Safa to Marwa, again you turn towards it. Whatever you do, I said you have to say 3 times, and in between each you have to ask whatever dua that you wanted. And again coming from Marwa to Safa, the same place you can see that there will be continuous green lights will be there, and in that place alone, just jog around. Also be careful because it may be very whatever possible you try to do. You will not be able to run and walk based on the crowd. Try to jog a little bit faster compared to normal walking, and you move from Marwa to Safa. So this you have to do 7. So when you do 7, you start from Safa and then you end at Marwa. So this will mark the entire study. So this is the final act that will be in Masjid al-Haram. Sorry, what else we want to know? I forgot to mention. So as we said, if all this one you are supposed to do in Hajj 10. There could be scenarios as brother pointed out, based on your trials and others, they will not be able to arrive on day of Hajj like Hajj 10. If possible, you will check with your travels first itself, like the day. If not, you see you could make any personal arrangement. Like if there is availability of taxi or something, you would say, because there is some of them would say that you can do it on 11th and 12th. But as per Hadith reference, we see Prophet did it on Hajj 10. So you first check with your travels if they do it on 10th. If not, ask them like is there an opportunity, because they also will not be always able to provide, because they have to get approvals from government and others. If possible, if you can take a taxi or you can find someone over there who could help, try to do it on 10, because that is the time like Prophet has did. But there's your facility or whatever, if you could not, like ask like it's mentioned in the Quran, you can be full of sin, Allah will not trouble someone beyond their capacity. If you feel you can't do at all, then it is okay. But as much as possible, try to do it on 10. Just check with your tribes as well what they do and are they try to meet our relative and enemies as well.
Alright, so now we have done the Thowheed day 10th, the third day of our Hajj. Now we are heading into the 11th day. After we're done with Tawaf and Sa'i, you should go back to Mina where you are going to stay for the next 2 days. That's important. From Haram to Mina, you are going to stay in Mina. Typically, like we are going to pray Fajr in Mina for the 11th day. Then we are going to do Zamarat. There are 3 Zamarat would be there. Zamaratul Dunya, the smaller one, Zamaratul Wusta, the middle one, the Zamaratul Aqaba, this is the bigger one. So we have to do stoning 7 times on each Zamarat. So here, the very first time when you are starting from Mina to Zamarat, there will be 3 different floors will be there. So it depends on your country, origin and the government allocation. You could go to basement, or a first floor, or second floor, or third floor, depends on what government says, like how are you going to say, or even the time of stoning. Sometimes people should start from the midday. After sun in the mid, after slightly goes down, we should start stoning. But you may not get an opportunity to start stoning on that given time because there are 3 million people will have to do the stoning. Government will allocate each country, each zone on a specific time. So it's okay even if it is night or if it is in the morning because Rasulullah was allowed based on the logistics. So this is the first story that we are going to start from the tunnel. We are going to start 7 times. But you should not, you should always go right on the Zamarat and stone 7 times thinking that you are just again say Allahu Akbar. When you stoning, say Allahu Akbar, do the 7 times stoning in Zamaratul Dunya. Then Rasulullah what he did after the story, he came out and the right hand side towards Kaaba, he asked dua. We have to do that. Then he goes to the second one, Zamaratul Usta, that's the middle one. Again from the right side, Rasulullah did 7 times stoning, Rani. That's again, say Allahu Akbar. Thinking that, you are just stoning the Satan. Just remembering what Ibrahim alayhi did. You should not, but some people may throw a bigger stone, slippers, thinking that there is a shaitan there. No, there's not shaitan there. Just to remember that, remembering the place, like, the government built a big stone for all 3 different floors. So you can, imagine that, you will see a bigger stone, you are just going to stone it, that's it. Just to remember what Ibrahim did. You are going to just remember what it was, and do not stone, stones, it may hit others. So think about others' perspective as well. Do not throw even other than small stones. Even some people may even throw their slippers, thinking that there are saitans there. No, it's not correct way. So when you stone 7 times on the Zamratul Usta, again Rasulullah come back, and towards Kaaba he makes dua. So we have to do the dua again. Then the third, the Zamratul Aqaba, this is the bigger Zamara. Again, in the right hand side, you have to stone 7 times, then turn back to Mina. Rasulullah did not make dua after Zamratul Aqaba. He did only on Zamratul Dunya, Zamratul Usta, then do stoning on Zamratul Aqaba, turn back to Mina. This is what you are going to do. Then you are going to pray Duha 2 rakah, Asr 2 rakah, in Qasr, then pray Maghrib 3 rakah, Isha 2 rakah, it's going to stay in Mina for the 11th day. 12th day again, you're going to pray Fajr in Mina, go back to, after midday, go back to all 3 Zamarat, do the same thing. Do stoning 7 times, make dua, do 7 times stoning on Zamratul Usta, then make dua, go to do and, stone Zamratul Aqaba, come back to Mina. If you are done in a 12th day before Maghrib with all 3 stoning, all 3 Zamarat that done, you are done with the stoning, you are done with your Hajj. You can leave Mina before Maghrib. If you are not stoning before Maghrib, you have to stay in the night in Mina. That's where the 6th day of Hajj, the 13th day starts. If you are done, if you still want to stay, you are okay to stay here as well. It's optional day. If you did not stone, you have to stay in the night, Mina. In the next day, Fajr, you pray in Mina. Then in the midday, you stone all three Jamarat. On the sixth day, then you can leave your Hajj is done. So the 6th day is optional. Whoever has done the stoning on the 12th day before Maghrib, they can leave. They have to leave Mina before Maghrib if you want to leave. If it's delayed, you have to stay. The 6th day is optional. So these are all things, like I said, before the 12th can be completed before Maghrib. The Quran does two or three essays. You can see that those who would like to can stay in Maghrib after 6th day can complete on the 13th. You can say in the Quran, Al-Baqarah 2 or 3, chapter 2 or 3 says there. Then finally, once you're done with everything, Hajj is done for us. Then before you leave Makkah, some people, after done the Hajj, they go to Medina or maybe they leave out of the country. Before you're done with the Hajj, you have to do Tawaf al-Wida. That's a farewell Wida, farewell Tawaf. You have to do in Makkah, in Haram. So perform the Tawaf al-Wida as the last action before you leave Makkah. That can be seen in Sahih Muslim 1327, 1328. So before you leave Makkah, you have to do that. There may be a question: what happens to menstruation women? In the 3rd day of the Hajj days, they are not supposed to do tawaf. They are not supposed to do sa'i. Other than that, they can do all other actions. They cannot enter into Makkah, the Haram. So what they have to do is they have to wait until they become normal. Then they have to do those 2 actions to complete their Hajj. So this is mandatory, and make sure that all the menstruating women have to avoid doing the tawaf and sa'i on the 3rd day until they become normal. Then they have to do these 2 actions to complete their Hajj. Alright, so now since we are done with all the Hajj activities for all 5 to 6 stages of actions performed on each day, any questions about Hajj on any day?
So if you're flying directly to Makkah, not Makkah, in British airport,
Jeddah.
So where do you take the Jeddah?
So typically, say for example, if you start from Hyderabad, right? That's your question. Maybe Hyderabad to Jeddah, or from here to Jeddah.
No, I'll be over to Jeddah.
Jeddah, okay. So is it a direct flight or is it in the stopover?
It will be by Dubai.
Dubai, okay. So how long are you going to be staying in Dubai?
No, it's okay. You just change the flight in Dubai to Jeddah.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. How much time will be there for transit time?
I'm not sure, probably a couple of hours.
Couple of hours is, sometimes is enough, sometimes may not be enough. So, you need to think about from your travel agent perspective. They may offer you in transit time for 2 hours, there will be so many people will be there. You may not get a chance to bath. You may not, because before you start doing your ihram, you have to take a bath, apply, perfumes or whatever you want, pray to the car, then start doing the ihram. To do all these actions, sometimes the 2 hours later time may not be enough. So I would suggest to start your ihram in Kolkata itself. So sometimes, if you have more than a couple of hours and, you have time to take a bath or, wearing your ihram and, to accommodate all these actions in your later time, you can do that in Dubai. It all depends on the travel, the travel agent that who you are opted for. They will direct you, whether you will have a time in transit or you may not have time in transit. If they find out if you may not have time in transit, they will suggest you to start ihram in Kolkata itself.
Yeah, just to add to brother's point, so based on the time available you will do, but if you are going to do ihram from the mid portion, you need to make sure you carry your ihram dress in your carry-on, because there are the instances where people forget they put it in chicken and you will not even be able to have that. So check about the timing as well as make sure in case you have enough time, you have that dress to wear carry-on so that you can change your dress there. If you have 3 or 4 hours, general suggestion as brother mentioned, most of the people will try to do that. So it's fine. You can start from the point we are starting. If you're starting from Kolkata or Chennai, you can start from there. You can do your dress and you can say Thalbiyyah and all those you can do. It's not mandatory. Just before that place you have to do that. You can even do it earlier.
And it's quite normal in airport that you may see quite a lot of people with ihram dress in airports in India. So it's not uncommon that you should you'll be odd man out there. No, there are quite a lot of people who are going to Umrah and Hajj. They wear ihram in our Indian airports too. So,
my question is there any specific way to do Niyam or specifically for Hajj or just say the answer that we need to do?
no, like we mentioned, the niyyah is, depends on what type of Hajj you do. Say for example, if you are going to do tamattu, in the ihram, you are going to do two actions. First Umrah, then you are going to come out of ihram, then you are going to do Hajj. The very first thing you have to do is you Hajj Labbaika Umratan. That's the very first thing that you are going to do. The very first time that you are going to wear ihram. Then in Makkah, once you do the Umrah, you will come out of ihram. Then on the day 8, when you start to leave to Mina from Ajisya, that's where you are going to again wearing ihram. So at that time you are going to say Labbaika Hajjan. So that's the niyyah that you have to do.
So is it necessary to pronounce it or?
Yeah, it is. It's a niyyah. It's compulsory. Rasul says that you specifically say these words before you start wearing ihram. Ihram means, like I said, it's not a two-piece of top. Ihram means is a niyyah that you are getting into Umrah, you are getting into Hajj. So you have to specifically say these two words. Labbaika Umratan for Umrah, Labbaika Hajjan for Hajj.
You have to say loud?
No, typically,
But they just need to say, there is nothing but loud. As long as you say, it's okay.
yeah. But Tawheed is something that you need to say it loud, very loud. Very loud. Rasul has specifically stressed that you say Tawheed until you stand Zamaratul Aqaba, you say Tawheed in a very loud voice.
Yeah, question.
Yes, they can hear. See. Okay, so the question is so the men should not cover the head. That's one of the criteria for ihram, right? So the question is can you have an umbrella to avoid the very hot sun there? Yes, you can have an umbrella, making sure that it's above the head, and you can wear because it's not a part of your head. You are not covering your head. You are just hiding the sunlight. That's it.
Any color?
But people prefer white just to reflect the sunlight outside. But I don't think that any colors should be okay.
Color of what?
Umbrella.
No, there isn't any restrictions on that.
Last day, 30th day வந்து ஆப்ஷனல் சொன்னீங்க இப்போ பண்ணி நம்ம ஸ்டோர்லாம் முடிஞ்சிருச்சு நம்ம எல்லாமே யூஸ்டோம் அப்படி இருந்து இந்த ஸ்டே பண்ணுறோம் ஸோ ஒவ்வொரு டைம் பண்ணாமல் நம்ம பண்ணுறோம்.
If you are going to stay on the road, okay, the question is, we said the 6th day is optional. So the question is we are going to stay, but do we have to stay on the 6th day? We leave even without staying. If you are going to stay in Milan at 12th night, you have to stay. So on the 6th day. So that's a compulsory act that take upon. But if you want to leave Mina, you have to leave Mina before Maghrib on the 5th day. If you are going to stay, you have to pray further in Mina, you are going to stay, then you have to leave.
We do it another.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, you have to do it.
Certain stay after Maghrib, yeah.
So, say in Dhul Hijjah 12, after stoning, you can leave. That is mandatory, right? After Dhul Hijjah 12, after stoning, if you are planning to stay in Mina, or if it has gone beyond Maghrib, then you have to stay. You have to stay in Mina, you have to pray Maghrib, you have to pray Isha, next you have to pray Subuh. Then the same way, then you have to go to Jamra, you have to do all the activities, whichever you did in 11 and 12, same has to be done in 13. But most probably your travels will decide. Not many travels would have the option, they will do 13. After 12, they will like to move to Azizia. But in case if your travel gives an option, and if you want it, you have to make sure you stay there and you do as if you are doing whatever you did on Dhul Hijjah 12, carry over the same actions on Dhul Hijjah 13 as well.
If the 13th also not possible, for example, due to the travel concerns.
13 not possible for what?
If they are done with the throning on 12 before Maghrib, they Hajj is done.
Yes.
And if they are not, they have to stay on Mina overnight, do the Fajr in the morning and go to the Jamra, do all the 3 stoning on 13th. Assume the 13th is also not possible due to some unavoidable reasons. So that the same rule applies to stay in Mina on 13th as well. go for 14th day and try the option?
No. After 30, like 5 days is mandatory, 6th day is optional. After that, you have to leave. Yeah, there isn't any restriction of 14 days.
See, Hajj means specific to those days, 5 or 6 days. So all the activities of Hajj have to be completed within 5 or 6 days. There is no optional day or a reserved day for doing any activities for the Hajj. Say for example, if I forget or if I don't do that, stoning on 11th and 12th, can I do 14th and 15th? No. You have to perform this act because you are going to do those activities at any cost. You will be given an opportunity for sure because of logistic problem can happen, but definitely you will be given an option to stoning on 11th day and 12th day. Most of the travel agents, like Brother Yunus said, they will try to complete Hajj on 5th day, the 5 days. Very rarely I see people stay and do the stoning on the 6th day. That's very rare. Most of the travel agencies wanted to avoid staying in Mina on the 5th day night because it's going to cost them more. The Mina stay is cost them more, so they want to avoid. Obviously, they would like to try to avoid the costing of staying on the 5th night. They will try to get away on the 5th day before Maghrib. Very rarely, things could happen. So that's why he said, Allah has given an option. It's an optional day. If you want to stay, you can stay and do the stoning on 6th day, and you can leave.
Yeah, one question.
Yes, it's compulsory for ladies. Alright, so the question is it compulsory to have a mahram to do Hajj for ladies? Yes, it is advised by the Saudi government that without mahram they don't allow to enter the country. Not even for Hajj, even for any action like even for Umrah or any other visa related stuff, they don't allow without mahram for ladies. Sorry? As a group?
They are going in a package where they don't know whether it's a husband or like a father or brother. They don't know, right?
Now, if you are going with a father or a brother, you are having a mahram.
No, like they are going in a group, but the members of the group may not have their brother or a father. Only a group of ladies may go there, right? So still there is a problem or it's not?
Typically, even for a group of ladies, they will requested to have one male as a mahram, just to safeguard them. That's it's a government policy in Saudi. They will expect you to have at least one mahram. If you have a mahram and they can safeguard with other ladies, that's okay. But they will expect at least one mahram to be there as a part of group. But if you're going on a travel, typically they will have somebody for ladies as well. I mean, they will have a mahram for sure. But if you're going alone or going as a personal group, you have to have a mahram.
Just go. Is that rule changed? The mahram rule changed recently? Are they allowing? Yeah. That's what I heard.
Did it change?
I'm not sure, but maybe it would have changed.
The government side, Saudi government started to allow those mahram. That's what. So the question is the mahram is from the sunnah or general practice? Looks like.
Even from the Islamic perspective, you cannot travel without mahram for a certain period of. If you travel, you are going to stay for a certain period of time. In Islam, you have to have a mahram to travel. That's it's an Islamic rule. But if with respect to government policies like I'm not sure what is the recent update in Saudi government whether they allow ladies without mahram to do the Hajj or Umrah. I'm not sure whether it's a new rule that get effective. But if you look at that, they have to travel quite a bit of time and they have to stay quite a bit of days to do the Hajj. Without the mahram, with a group of ladies, I'm not sure if the government is allowing. Do you know any recent rules?
No, I'm not aware of it actually.
Okay, so what we can do is we can check and see we can update. See if there is any new rules that they allow a ladies group of ladies or a lady without mahram.
The recommendation is over.
Yeah, we would recommend to go with a mahram because of certain personal reasons, some personal there are quite a bit of inconvenience that you may be facing to do the Hajj time because it's not so easy with the hot summer. Without mahram, I think it should be really difficult. I would suggest, or maybe we suggest, to have a mahram because even at the age of the mid-age ladies, even 30s, even 20s get fainted because of so hot. I mean, you need to have certain people to take care of you. Not only through that day, even in the nights, if you want to go just a walk in the Medina, I would suggest to have a mahram with you all the time.
Next question. We take multiple exams. Sorry.
You can, but it's not mandatory. Yeah.
We're sweating a lot, right? We are
Yeah. You can take a bath there. See, in Mina and Arafah and wherever you go in Muzdalifah also, you will have the opportunity to use the restrooms. Most of the restrooms will have a shower on top, and the typical restrooms will be there. So people, who should, yes, it's a very hot summer in Saudi, and people take bath quite frequently, even 3-4 times a day, to make sure that they beat the sweat and beat the smell out of the sweat. They take the bath. You can take more than one ihram if you would like, but it's added weight for you. So typically when you start from Aziziyah to Hajj base Mina, they suggest to carry only one piece of ihram and certain other things like slippers and a power bank and chargers. They will suggest carry few luggages so that you can carry them from Mina to Arafah, Arafah to Muzdalifah, Muzdalifah to again Mina to Haram to Mina to Zamara. So there are so many places that you will roam around. If you carry so much of luggages with you, it's really difficult for you. So I would suggest to keep the luggage at minimal so that you do the Hajj and you do the walking quite a bit. So without carrying too many luggages, walking will be a better choice for you. So it's up to you. If you want to carry, you can carry.
Yeah, to add to it, like once you start from Aziziyah, like Dhul Hijjah will come here. So you normally they will ask you to have only one backpack. So whichever you could bear in backpack, because that's what you're going to carry. You leave all your luggages in Aziziyah, you take a bag. So it will fit only like, as you said, like power bank and other necessary things. And it will fit like also once you are done with Dua extend, you also need the dress. That dress also you need to carry. So considering all this, one shoulder bag should be good enough. Because most of the places will be walking. And also you need to remember like travels will try to do arrangements as much as possible, but there do instances happen where even when they I remember like when we had the last after the 12th day when we have to move from Jamrat, after Jamrat we had to go to Aziziyah, they arranged for a bus. But what happened was, since everybody was leaving, the bus couldn't come at all. We had to wait like 2 hours. Then after that, even then they said they were not able to come. So they said like the only option is either you wait another 2 hours, we take bus, and that also we're not sure how many hours it will take. So we might end up walking like 8 kilometers. So travels would not do anything. And as brother stated earlier, Hajj itself is a difficult one. You have to have a lot of patience. There will be many instances where you will get angry. In restrooms or something you might face, some of them might cut. Observe patience, you have that. It's struggle. Similarly, travel always be able to help. In terms of food, you might have some inconveniences. But you have to make sure don't try to avoid as much as quarrel as possible. Try to say that this is from Allah, and mostly try to do everything possible, but there are situations where they will not be. So considering all this, carry as much as less as possible, because they are going to harder in all the places. As I said, in Mina, Arafah, in Muzdalifah, again you will go back to Haram. Then only later, after 11th and 12th, you come back to Aziziyah, they will have all your backpacks, your bags. Till then, only this bag will be there. So keep as much lesser number of dresses as possible.
Somebody is for sure.
Okay, one more question here. We have 2 more questions. So, Shana, we will give
So the question is like, what happens on the whole day at home if a lady get menstruation? Do they have to stay after 12th day of Dhul Hijjah? They have to do all other activities and all. Like I said earlier, the only thing that they cannot do during the menstruation is tawaf and sa'i. So the 10th day they cannot do the tawaf. The 10th day they should not do the sa'i. They can do the zamara. The 11th day they can do the stoning. The 12th day also they can do the zamara. They do the stoning. No matter what they can do that. Once they can come back to normal, then they have to go to Haram, do the tawaf, do the sa'i, then their Hajj will be complete. That's it. So doesn't matter. The days doesn't matter for the menstruated ladies, because once they become normal, only then they can enter into Haram. Until then they cannot enter into Haram, but they can do all other activities like the stoning and Zamarat, they can do that. There's no question of it. They can get kurban done, they can keep their hair, and they can get out of the ihram. Once, even for the tawaf ifada, you don't need a ihram because you are out of ihram during that tawaf ifada. So you can do the tawaf and sa'i once you come back to the normal.
Just to add to that, so in case of tawaf or ifada, if they get menses during that time, if they are not able to do, they have to wait till that period. So when we discussed, we also said about tawaf and ifada, which would want to Hajj 10 and tawaf al wida. So considering tawaf al ifada, you are supposed to do like as part of Hajj. So you have to wait till that period, and after you are done with the menses period, you have to come back and complete tawaf al wida. But say you have done tawaf al wida and you are on 11th and 12th, after that you get menses, tawaf al wida is optional, it's not mandatory. But again, there could be scenarios where parents might not be able to have you like stay for additional days. Say you get like around 10th, it's another 5 or 7 days. So if that is the case, you have to go with the Himmat of Allah. Like you try whatever you could. If between those periods you still you are able to do, or say you go to Medina, then you can come personally and do ifada after you are done with it. But you are returning back immediately, not on any days. Then like you can't do anything beyond this period, right? Because those are allocated days. You can believe like like Rahmat of Allah, like whatever we tried, we could do. Yeah.
We have other questions, but
Somebody is going to answer it. Yeah, right.
the two questions are, question one is, do you have definitely done 7 stones or we chart of 5? We chart of 7. Is it okay? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, if the Jamba can they be assistants? I mean, they will assist from the others who are here to store on top of these 2 other questions.
Okay, so you might have heard the questions like, are 7 times the storing is required? What if they have less stones on their packet? It doesn't matter. So you need to have 7 stones, for one zamara for sure. The stones can be calculated in Mustalifa. If you don't find stones in Mustalifa, before you leave the zamara through Mina, you will find a lot of stones. You can collect them at all. You can definitely throw stones there. And even if you don't have that stone, there will be a lot of stones even in zamara. The spillover stones will be there. You can pick up there, and for elders, so storing means you are not actually storing to that that side place the dashboard. No, you are just doing the action. The action is more important to you, important than what you are doing. So for example, if you can't even throw the stone, try to reach to the zamara, that is okay. You are just doing the action. Just throw it. That's it. Elders can do the same thing. I mean, they definitely get help from others, but they don't need to do, because all they have to do is they just do the action of 7 times. They just do the stoning and say Allah Akbar. That's more than enough.
I have 2 questions. First question is extension to the administration. So you said the period is 6 days, optional, including the optional. But if they get the menstruation and they are not able to do the tawaf, it is going beyond the 6 days. Right? Is that tawaf accepted if you get a chance to stay there and work on?
Okay.
And one other thing is like, since it is already like going to be delayed, can they do bida and also the ifada together? Can it be combined? Like, can they do one shot, the Hajj tawaf, and then also consider the bida?
I think Yunus has answered the question, but let me repeat that question again. So what happens if ladies get a menstruation on the 10th day, and the Hajj is only for 5 to 6 days, say, let's assume that next 7 days they may not get normal. So what happens? They miss out the tawaf and sa'i. So can they do once they become normal? Yes. It is not mandatory for them to do the action in the 5 days or 6 days of Hajj days. Even after 10 days, if they become normal, they can come back. They can go to any places. They can come back and they can do the tawaf al-wida, ifada and sa'i. That is mandatory. They have to do. Tawaf al-wida, the final tawaf is it's not a mandatory one like he said. If you are going to do tawaf al-ifada and tawaf al-wida, you can do only tawaf al-ifada and complete the Hajj, and you can do it. So it's not mandatory that you have to do both at once and you complete the Hajj. No, Hajj days are 5 to 6 days, but it is exception is given to Rasulullah that, if you look at the hadith, Aisha radiallahu got menstruation. I think one of the wives, I'm not sure if it is Aisha, but may Allah forgive. But I think one of his wives got menstruation, and Rasulullah said, okay, it's okay, but don't do the tawaf and sa'i, do all other actions. Then once she becomes normal, then Rasulullah let her do the tawaf ifada, then sa'i, then they come to the Hajj. So 5 to 6 days Hajj days will not affect here for the menstruating women. They can do the ifada anytime.
What is the condition? Like I will perform Hajj for one who passed away.
If in the family, if your father or mother is eligible to do the Hajj, but they passed away without doing the Hajj, you can do the Hajj on behalf of them. That's allowed. It's only for your father or mother or your relation. Whoever was eligible, they have to be eligible. Say for example, if you are not eligible, now since you have a money, you have a wealth, if you want to do that, no, because their eligibility is not met, the criteria is not met. If they are not eligible, they do not have a Hajj. You don't need to do. Their criteria is they have to be eligible, but they couldn't do, they passed away, yes, on behalf of them you can do. Otherwise, you are not obligated to do on behalf of them.
Okay, so they had the intention, but they were not able to do it, and they passed away.
So again, the criteria is, are they eligible? Did they have a money? Did they have a health? During certain other, say for example, if they have a health and wealth, and they could become eligible. Due to other reasons they could not do and they passed away, yes, they can do. But if they do not have a health, but if they have a wealth, they are not eligible still.
The conditions are.
Okay, then you can do that. You can do on behalf of them.
In that case, the person who is doing for them, you are already on the Hajj, and they do
the criteria is you have to do a Hajj first, if you are eligible. Then we can do for your family members.
Final question. If someone passes when they are performing Hajj, what happens to the dead body? Will it be buried there, or will it be thrown back to the earth?
It depends on what your criteria is. Most likely they would like to bury there. That's how people wish. Even many people, from our countries, wanted to die either in Makkah or Medina. They had a wish which we should not have it, because the death and signal is not in our hands. It's in Allah's wish. So in case if they die, most likely the government would like to bury the body there. If they die in Makkah, they will bury that body in Makkah. If they die in Medina, they die in Jannat al-Baqi, and they will bury there. That's all they do. If you have a wish, if you have a money, if you want to bring your body to your home country, you can request them to get that things done. But most people will not like to do that actually. I think we are out of time. If you have any other questions or any other feedback, you can. We are going to have a next program as a movie for the Hajj days from 3 to 5. Once it's done, after the test distribution, if you have any questions, you definitely can stay here and ask questions. Or if you have an email ID and you can reach us out. If anybody needs the PowerPoint slideshow, we are more than welcome to share it with you. We can send it to you and we can keep all the references. So the difference is all the actions that we specify for each day is all according to the Sunnah. So we specify what are the hadiths that states for the action.